have been a number of issues for Eric Holder. So that's one side of this equation as to whether or not this compounds the issues for Eric Holder and the future for him as Attorney General. And then there's the specific issue of Fast and Furious. So I'm joined now by Republican Darrell Issa, who is the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Congressman Issa, good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning,
Martha. Let's take on the very specific issue first here, which has to do with this investigation. Do you agree that there should be a special counsel, and how would that change the work that your committee has done on this investigation?
Well, one of the challenges, Martha, is if they say they want a special counsel and then the Justice Department stonewalls the special counsel the way they have us for almost a year, what ends up happening is they push it till after the election, and then perhaps we really never get our justice for this wrongdoing that led to Brian Terry and others dying on both sides of the border. More importantly, I think Chairman Lamar Smith said it very well. These inconsistencies in, if you will, the duty of candor by the Attorney General have to be resolved, and they have to be resolved before the Judiciary Committee, and they have to be resolved quickly. You cannot come before that committee and answer without candor questions. He may or may not have perjured himself, but he certainly failed to answer my question and Jason Chafetz's questions about what did he know. He implied he knew nothing when in fact he at least knew something.
Well, you were there, obviously. You asked him the question. And now he's saying, basically, the Justice Department has said on his behalf that, you know, that's not the way he understood the question. He thought the question was about whether or not he knew about the controversy, and that they have so many memos and so many operations that are going on in Justice Department that he simply cannot be on top of every single one of them, but that he didn't know about the controversy until a couple of weeks before you asked him that question. Do you believe that answer?
Well, we certainly would like to believe that he was disingenuous but not lying. The fact is the people who are making those statements on his behalf are lying on his behalf, period. He had to know from his weekly briefings. There were 7 separate briefings that included Fast and Furious. His number 2 and number 3 were intimately involved. He had to know more about Fast and Furious than I learned about it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
This is a man, Martha, who very carefully, if he doesn't like a question, answers it the way he wants to. He had every obligation to say, I may not have known all the details, but of course I knew about Fast and Furious because I was briefed somewhat on it weekly. He needs to come forward and at least admit that, because right now what he said is untrue, and he needs to clarify it before the committee.
All right, I understand what you're saying, and I know that you have concerns about the special counsel and whether or not that will basically lead to this whole thing being kind of put on a back burner and shelved and pushed past the election. When do you expect a response from the White House to this call for special counsel?
I would expect they'll do it on the same timetable. They've done all of the discovery that our committee has wanted based on the abuses of this administration. They'll do it very slowly. But more importantly, Martha, the Brian Terry family needs to have closure. They need to know that the people responsible for Fast and Furious, all the way to the top, have to be held accountable. This was a felony stupid operation that led to 2,000 plus weapons getting in the hands of the worst of the worst. That has to be resolved. We can't wait for a special prosecutor on that. The American people deserve accountability for this kind of wrongdoing.
Yeah, and I'm sure Brian Terry's family cares less about the larger political implications of what Eric Holder is being brought into here, and what he may have known or not known, and they want some answers in terms of the whole program and what happened to their family member. Darrell Issa, Congressman, thank you so much. Good to see you as always. We'll see you soon. Okay.